Hey everybody, thanks a lot for joining me for this video. My voice has been kind of strange today because I woke up, I was like so congested, like I think it was just some sort of an allergy related thing. I'm not sure what it was, but I was just like, I have one of those little Vicks Vapo inhaler sticks or whatever, but I was using that a lot during the newscast because I was like, I need my nose to clear up. So it's gotten a little better, but my voice still sounds kind of low. So anyway, I'm not going to push it too much, but I do want to do this review for you today, and it is on actually 4 different palettes. So it's like a whole line of products from Physicians Formula. And they are these Shimmer Strips Pop palettes. So as you can see, I mean, you've got one for blue eyes, green eyes, brown eyes, and hazel eyes. So I'm going to kind of tell you what I think of these as a whole, and then point out individually, you know, how I feel about each one, because I have, you know, some things that I like about them and some things that I don't. And I was sent these products by Physicians Formula, but as you all know, I'm definitely willing to post reviews that, you know, may have some pros and some cons in them, because I feel like it's important to know. Sometimes I hear people do videos and they say, well, if it's a bad product, you're not even gonna waste your time reviewing it. Well, I also feel like if it's not a good product, then that's something you need to know about too, you know? It's like, okay, so it didn't work, so I'm going to try to keep it a secret from you. So that's not how I roll with my videos. So I definitely want to have complete disclosure here and tell you everything that's going on. So anyway, overall, with these palettes, I'll just hold up one here to show you. You can see they've got 9 different shades in them. All of them have 9 colors. As far as the things I like about them, I think these are really fun colors. I mean, these just aren't the kinds of shades that you see every day in drugstore eyeshadow palettes. So there are some really interesting shades. So I think it's nice that you're getting those options with some really bright colors. I also think it's cool that there are like some neutral shades mixed in. I think that's nice to have that option. You know, you buy something with 9 colors, you don't want to just have one look you can do with it, you want several. So I think that's good. And I did take some notes, by the way, because I was like, I gotta talk about 4 palettes. I need to keep myself on track. But anyway, I like that some of them with the shimmer, they're all shimmery, but there's like kind of a complex shimmer to them. It's not like all of them, like each one you swatch is going to have the same like silver sparkle to it or something like that. Like, they all have their own unique kind of quality about them, and sometimes like the shimmer is like kind of like multi-colored shimmer. I'm not really sure how to describe it. I'll try to swatch some for you, and by the way, I will have swatches posted on my blog. I will have a link to that in the sidebar so you can really see what these look like, because me just going like that with my fingers isn't going to do a whole lot. But I really think that the colors are interesting. You know, there's an interesting shimmer to them that you don't see everywhere. It's not like, okay, I could pick up that shadow anywhere. So that's nice. And I also do like I said, there's 9 colors per palette. Some things that I don't like, first off, I kind of like my palettes. I think it's nice when they have a mirror to them, but this one doesn't, so that's, you know, not a big deal, but it's just something I prefer. Also, something that could be kind of seen as a con is that there are really small amounts of each color, you know? Like, you're not getting very much here, and like if you compare that to, say, a CoverGirl quad, just so you can have a little frame of reference here. Open up this quad from CoverGirl, and you hold them side by side. I mean, you can see that the CoverGirl shades, I mean, you're getting a lot more. Granted, this is more variety, but per color, I mean, you're just not getting a whole lot. Same with Maybelline. I mean, one shade gives you a lot here. So if you find like a shade in one of these that you really like and you want to use repeatedly, chances are you're going to run out of it fairly soon. Another possible con could be the fact that all of the shades in these palettes are shimmery. I say that kind of, you know, not too big of a con because it is in the title. They're called shimmer strips, so you kind of know what you're getting into here, assuming you read the label of the product. So it's kind of like you know what you're getting into, but some variety. Maybe if they made these down the road with a new version, like matte ones would be cool, or a mix of shimmer and matte would be kind of nice, because they have smoky ones and they have just the regular of these. So there's other versions out there if you don't like all these bright shades, but still, they're all shimmery. Also, one other con, as I will mention throughout this video is that some of the bright shades, like for example some of these purples, like they're not as pigmented and bright and colorful as you would expect them to be. So I'll get into that. That's more like on an individual basis for each of those palettes, so I will address that as well. Now going through all these palettes, I mean, I obviously kind of picked out a favorite, and it honestly, what was interesting to me is that the one that turned out to be my favorite is probably the last one I would have picked up just walking through the store, and I'm not sure why, this didn't immediately stand out to me, but once I started using it and swatching the colors, I was like, okay, I really like this palette. So, and it is the one for Hazel Eyes. So here's a kind of a look at that one. You can see it's just got a gorgeous palette of colors here. But some reasons why I like this, I think the pinks and maroons are just fantastic in this palette. You get, you know, some bright kind of like a raspberry pink shade. You also get like a lighter sort of like a baby pink shade. You get this shade here right at the end, and I swear that is a dupe for matte cranberry. If you like matte, and that is one of my favorite matte colors. So like when I saw that there, I was like, oh, hey, and then I swatched it and I was like, that totally is matte cranberry. Like I put the swatches side by side and I got like really excited. I think Tyler was wondering like what was happening to me at that moment, but I really like that about this palette. No two shades are exactly alike, which I did notice some overlap in some of the other palettes, but all these are kind of different. I mean, you get some golds. This shade here is so interesting. It's like a neutral, but I've got a little bit of another shade on the underside of that. But it's neutral, but it's iridescent. And as with the top shade in all these palettes, like that looks white, but they all have like their own little undertone. Like this one happens to have a pink undertone. Maybe can't quite see it there, but it has like this neat iridescent quality to it. So I love the pigmentation they were able to come up with in some of these pink and maroonish shades. I think it's really pretty. I also like that I feel like these shades can all be worn together and give off a really pretty look. Like I just like the way that, you know, the whole composition of this palette. And I do have like I used like the cranberry type shade kind of in my crease here, and I just was really pleased with the way it came off. So definitely my favorite palette is the Hazel Eyes, and I don't have Hazel Eyes. That's the whole kind of a whole big point that I needed to make in this video, is that I have brown eyes. And I love the Hazel Eyes palette. I will use all of these palettes regardless of what my eye color is. So anyway, love that one. Then I have two palettes that are kind of in the middle for me. The Green Eyes palette, which is really pretty. Again, some shades you just aren't going to run into in the drugstore all that much for eyeshadow. So give you a look at those there. Why I like this, again, the really unique turquoise type shades here. Just very like, that's kind of like a seafoam green type shade. You've got kind of a spring green, and here's a pretty pink. There's like a darker teal. They're all really pretty, and they are pigmented as a whole. The purples in this palette lack a little bit of pop, but they're still, I mean, they'll still show up. And I also like that all these shades do work well together too. You could pick any two of these, and you know, the purple and the aqua and the pink, they're all gonna look nice together, no matter if you want to put one on the inner part of your lid, one on the outer part. The way these palettes are put together, like if you look at the packaging, they kind of outline it so like the top three go together, the middle three go together, and the bottom three go together. But I honestly just use them however I feel like it. I don't necessarily follow that plan. You also get one of these pointy sponge tip applicators with it too, which I have gotten some use out of. But one criticism I have of this palette, while I like this little teal shade down here in the bottom, it really isn't all that dark. You know, it's pretty and all, but with all this shimmer, I feel like you need to have a nice deeper shade that's really going to show up deeper to create some contrast so the colors don't start to look muddy. You know, they're all shimmery. You need something to tone it down, and pretty much all the colors in this palette have the same sort of level of brightness and intensity. Unlike, you know, going back to the Hazel one, this cranberry shade down here at the end is actually really nice and deep, creates some contrast with all those other pinks and golds and stuff. So that's kind of my only complaint with the Green Eyes palette. I also like the Blue Eyes palette. So these are kind of my two middle of the road palettes, but I really like them and I totally will use them. I felt like the blues in this palette, here's a look, they lacked a little bit of intensity. I was sort of expecting some more out of these just because to look at them, like, where does your eye go when you first look at this? I mean, here or here maybe, you know, it really catches your eye. And to do a swatch of it, there's the blue. I mean, I don't know. I just kind of thought, well, that's another blue. This blue on this finger is right there. And so I just kind of thought it should have come off a little brighter than that. I mean, granted, you still get some blue, but it's just, you know, to kind of just understand that maybe they're not going to look just like that. The neutrals, however, in this palette are amazing. I love the way these bronzy, neutrally shades come off. I mean, they are intense, so I love those. But the thing is, you're not going to buy this pop of color bright palette just for, you know, the browns. You're going to probably buy it because you like the blues too. Overall, though, this is a great palette, and again, with all these shades in the first ones that appear white, actually that has a iridescent blue undertone to it. So it's interesting. I do like these, you know, this palette a lot, and I think if I am reaching for blue and I want something quick and portable, this may be something I go towards sometimes. Now the palette, sadly, I need to start wiping this stuff off better. Now the palette that really is one that I was not impressed with, sadly, is the Brown Eyes palette, which would have been the one, like, if you just go into the store and you're thinking, well, I have brown eyes, so I'm going to get the Brown Eyes palette. Please don't just have that attitude. Like, hopefully you've learned some things through this video and you realize, A, anybody can wear these colors, but B, this palette, I have some issues with. The purples here are just not that intense and bright. Just to show you one here, like they're pretty, they're light, but I mean, for the pop that this palette's supposed to have, I kind of felt like they all kind of came off looking somewhat the same. Those are three different purples right there. And so yeah, there is like some overlap in this palette as well. I felt like this shade and that one, they kind of look alike. The golds actually kind of come off similar too. So I didn't feel like, whereas with like this palette, I felt like I was getting like a ton, like 9 different, totally different shades. Here I felt like there was a little bit of overlap. And also kind of the potential for a muddy look. Like I wore this and I was getting like lightish purples, and then you've got some neutrals thrown in, which the neutrals are nice and all, but it just didn't make as much sense together. You know what I mean? Like these colors looked great together. These colors look nice together. There's enough contrast between the blue and the earth tones. These all look nice together, and these I was kind of like not as impressed with. And it's sad, like I said, because you want the brown eyes to work. Lots of people have brown eyes, but you kind of just have to really test them out. I was glad I had the opportunity to try out all palettes and really let you know what you're getting into, because I think sometimes brands want to just tell you, okay, because you have this color of eyes, you know, this is the palette that's for you, but you really want the palette that's the best quality. I mean, that's what I would want. So hope you learned something in this video. Again, you know, these are good quality products, but there's just little differences in each one that I've learned about. So thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day and a great rest of the week, and I'll see you next time.